Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast, where we don't just teach you English, we help you live it. I'm Tom.
And I am Ria. It is so good to be back here with you today. We have a topic today that is, honestly, I think the number one frustration for almost every single person listening to us right now.
I think you are absolutely right, Ria. It is that feeling that keeps people awake at night. It is that feeling of being stuck. Today, we are talking about the classic struggle. I can understand English perfectly when I hear it, but I just cannot speak it.
Oh, that is the big one. It is the silent struggle. I have had students come to me almost in tears about this. They tell me, Ria, I watch movies without subtitles. I listen to podcasts. I understand 90% of what you're saying right now. But the moment I open my mouth, my mind goes completely blank.
It's like a wall comes down, isn't it? It's fascinating and heartbreaking at the same time. You have all this knowledge inside your head. It's like having a library full of books, but the door is locked and you cannot get the books out when you need them. Why do you think that happens? Why is there such a massive gap between what we understand and what we can produce?
That is such a good analogy, the locked library. I think the first thing we need to tell our listeners is that this is completely normal. You are not broken. Your brain is not failing you. This is actually a natural part of language learning. But nobody talks about the psychology of it. We focus so much on grammar rules, but we ignore the fear.
The fear is real. I think for many people, listening is safe. When you're listening to us right now, you're in your comfort zone, you're receiving. You don't have to perform. But speaking is a performance. It's public. And suddenly, all that confidence you had while listening just evaporates because you're afraid of being judged.
Exactly. It's the fear of making a mistake. It's perfectionism. We have this idea that if we cannot say the sentence perfectly, exactly like a native speaker, then we shouldn't say it at all. So we freeze, we hesitate, and that hesitation kills the flow. But Tom, I want to dig deeper into the mechanics of this. Why is our passive vocabulary so much bigger than our active vocabulary?
Well, think about how we learn. Most people spend years in school sitting quietly at a desk, listening to a teacher or reading a textbook. They're training their brains to recognize words. Recognition is a passive skill. It's much easier to recognize a face in a crowd than it is to draw that face from memory on a blank piece of paper. Speaking is drawing from memory. It requires a completely different set of neural pathways.
That makes so much sense. We are training ourselves to be professional listeners, not speakers. It's like watching people play tennis for 5 years and understanding all the rules, knowing how to keep score, knowing what a good serve looks like. But if you have never actually held the racket and hit the ball, you're going to be terrible the first time you step on the court.
And that's the tragedy of it. People feel like they have failed because they step on the court and miss the ball. They think, but I watched tennis for 5 years. I should be good at this. But you never swung the racket. You never built the muscle memory. Speaking is physical. It's your tongue, your lips, your breath. It's a physical act that needs training, not just intellectual understanding.
I love that. It's physical. We forget that your mouth has muscles that need to get used to making these sounds. But Tom, let's talk about that moment of freezing. You know the feeling? Someone asks you a simple question, maybe just, how was your weekend? And you know the words. You know weekend, you know good, you know park, but you just say, good, and then you stop.
And then 5 minutes later, when the conversation is over and you're walking away, you think of the perfect sentence. You think, oh, I should have said, I went to the park with my family and the weather was beautiful. Why couldn't I say that in the moment? It's frustration, pure frustration.
It's because in that moment, your brain was overloaded. You were probably trying to translate, weren't you? That's the other trap. the translation trap. You hear the question in English, you translate it to your native language, you formulate an answer in your native language, and then you try to translate that back into English. It's too much processing.
It's like trying to run a modern piece of software on an old computer. It crashes. The lag is too long. By the time you've translated the sentence, the moment is past. We have to learn to cut that wire. We have to learn to go directly from thought to English, skipping the native language entirely. But that's scary for people.
It is terrifying because it feels like letting go of a safety rope. Your native language is your safety rope, but you have to let go to swim. So how do we bridge this gap? If someone is listening right now and nodding their head saying, yes, this is me, this is my life, what do we tell them? How do they move from passive understanding to active speaking?
I think the first step is to change your definition of success. Success is not speaking perfectly. Success is communicating. If you said good and the other person understood you, you succeeded. It wasn't poetic, it wasn't Shakespeare, but it was communication. We need to lower the bar. We put so much pressure on ourselves to be clever. Just be clear.
That is such a relief to hear. Lower the bar. You don't have to be smart, you just have to be understood. I also think we need to talk about the environment. Most people wait for the perfect environment to practice. They think, one day I will meet a native speaker and I will have a long, deep conversation. But that is high pressure. You need to practice when the stakes are low.
Low stakes practice is the key. And you know what the lowest stake environment is? Being alone. Talk to yourself. I know people think it sounds crazy, but it is the single best technique. Narrate your life. When you are making coffee, say out loud, I am pouring the water. I am looking for a spoon. Where is the sugar?
I do this. Even now when I'm learning a new language, I talk to my dog, I talk to the mirror. The beauty of this is that nobody can hear you make mistakes. If you use the wrong verb tense, nobody corrects you, nobody laughs. You get comfortable with the sound of your own voice in English. A lot of people are actually surprised by their own voice in a new language. It sounds foreign to them.
It does. It affects your identity. You feel like a different person. Maybe you are funny and witty in your first language, but in English, you feel like a child. You feel simple. And that hurts the ego. We have to be willing to be a beginner again. We have to be willing to sound simple.
That ego bruise is real. I remember a student telling me that he felt like he lost his personality when he spoke English. He was a CEO, a very powerful man in his country. But in English, he couldn't negotiate. He couldn't make jokes. He felt powerless. And that feeling made him not want to speak at all. He preferred silence to sounding weak.
That is a heavy burden. But the only way to get that power back is to walk through the weakness. You cannot skip the awkward phase. There is no shortcut where you wake up one day and you're fluent. You have to go through the days of broken grammar and stumbling over words. You have to embrace the mess.
Embrace the mess. I like that. We should make t-shirts that say that. Embrace the mess. Tom, what about the concept of input? We said earlier that just listening isn't enough. But does that mean we should stop listening?
No, absolutely not. You need the input to build the database, but you need to change how you listen. Don't just listen for meaning. Listen for patterns. Listen for chunks. When we speak, native speakers don't usually put one word after another like bricks. We speak in phrases. We say, "How's it going?" or "What are you up to?" as if they were one single word.
That is a game changer. Learning chunks instead of isolated words. If you try to build a sentence word by word, I am going to the store, your brain has to make 6 decisions. But if you learn I'm going to the as one chunk and store as the second chunk, you only make 2 decisions. It is so much faster.
Exactly. It flows, and that helps with the rhythm, too. English has a music to it. If you're just reading words off a page in your mind, you sound like a robot. But if you mimic the music, the up and down of the voice, it actually helps you remember the words better. It connects the language to emotion.
Speaking of emotion, I think we need to talk about the physical reaction people have. The sweating palms, the racing heart. When you want to speak, but you can't, it is a stress response. Your body goes into fight or flight mode. How do we calm that down?
Breathing helps. It sounds cliché, but taking a breath gives your brain a second to catch up. Also, buying time. Native speakers use filler words all the time. We say, well, or, or let me think about that. Learners feel like they're not allowed to do that. They think they need to answer instantly like a machine. No, take your time. Use a filler phrase. It signals to the listener that you're still there. You're just processing.
I love teaching filler phrases. It makes you sound so much more natural. Saying, that's a good question, let me see, gives you 3 seconds to organize your grammar. And nobody thinks you're slow, they just think you're thoughtful. It is a brilliant trick.
It is about confidence, isn't it? Confidence isn't knowing that you won't make mistakes. Confidence is knowing that you will make mistakes and you will be okay anyway. The world won't end if you use the wrong preposition.
So true. And let's be honest, native speakers make mistakes all the time. We interrupt ourselves, we change sentences in the middle, we mumble. If you listen to a transcript of a real conversation between two native speakers, it is full of errors and incomplete thoughts. But the learner compares their speaking to a scripted movie character. It is an unfair comparison.
We are our own worst critics. We judge ourselves so harshly. I want to challenge our listeners today. I want you to think about the last time you understood something in English, but stayed silent. What stopped you? Was it a real danger? Or was it just a feeling?
That is a powerful question. Usually it is just a feeling of shame or embarrassment. But here's the thing. People are generally kind. If someone is speaking your native language and they are struggling, do you laugh at them? Do you think they are stupid? No. You probably try to help them. You admire them for trying. Why do we assume people will be mean to us?
We project our own insecurities onto them. We think they are judging us, but they are usually just focusing on the message. They just want to know what you mean. So let's get practical again. We talked about self-talk. We talked about learning chunks. What about shadowing? Do you recommend shadowing?
Oh, I am a huge fan of shadowing. For those who don't know, shadowing is when you listen to a piece of audio, like this podcast, for example, and you repeat exactly what you hear, almost at the same time. You try to match the speed, the tone, the emotion. It forces your mouth to keep up. It connects the ear directly to the tongue, bypassing the analytical brain.
It is like a workout for your mouth muscles, and you can do it anywhere. You can do it in the car, while doing dishes. It helps so much with pronunciation, too, because sometimes the reason we don't speak is that we aren't sure how to pronounce a word, so we avoid it. Shadowing removes that doubt because you just heard the correct way.
And consistency is key here. You cannot do this once a month and expect results. It is better to practice speaking for 5 minutes every day than for 2 hours once a week. You need to keep that pathway open. The more you walk on a path in the forest, the clearer it becomes. If you stop walking, the grass grows back and you lose the path.
That is a beautiful image. The grass grows back. And I think a lot of our listeners feel like the grass has grown really high. They learned English in school years ago, and now they understand it, but the speaking path is completely overgrown. It takes a machete to get through it the first time. It is hard work, but once you clear it, it gets easier every single day.
And you have to find your why. Why do you want to speak? Is it for a job? Is it to travel? Is it to make friends? When the fear is strong, your why has to be stronger. If you just want to speak English to be good at English, that might not be enough motivation to push through the embarrassment. But if you want to speak because you want to connect with your grandchild who only speaks English, or you want that promotion to support your family, that will push you.
Connection. That is what it is all about. Language is a bridge between people. It is not a test score. It is not a textbook. It is a bridge. And right now, if you can understand us, you are standing on one side of the bridge. You can see the other side. You can hear the people on the other side. We're just inviting you to start walking across.
And it's okay if you stumble. It's okay if you have to hold on to the railing. Just keep moving. I want to share a quick story about a friend of mine. She moved to the US and she was terrified of speaking. She would go to the grocery store and use the self-checkout just to avoid talking to the cashier. She lived in a bubble of silence for months.
That sounds incredibly lonely.
It was. She was depressed. But one day, an old lady dropped her bag in the park. My friend didn't think. She just ran over, picked it up, and said, "Here you go, be careful." And the lady smiled and said thank you, and they talked about the weather for 30 seconds. My friend came home glowing. She was so happy. She realized, I did it. I didn't die. I spoke. That small moment broke the ice.
It is always the small moments. We wait for the big presentation or the big interview, but confidence is built in the grocery store. It's built in the elevator. It's built in the park. Stop waiting for the big moments and start seizing the small ones.
I love that. Seize the small ones. And don't apologize for your English. That is another thing I hear all the time. People start a sentence with, "Sorry, my English is terrible." Don't do that. You are learning. You are doing something difficult. Be proud of it. When you apologize, you are already putting yourself in a lower position.
It sets a negative tone. Instead of saying, "Sorry, my English is bad," just say, "Thank you for being patient." It changes the dynamic completely. It shows gratitude instead of weakness.
That is a powerful shift. Tom, I feel like we are giving them a lot of mindset shifts today, but I want to go back to the feeling of the mind going blank. When that happens, when you're in a conversation and suddenly the words are gone, what is the emergency strategy? What do you do right then and there?
Great question. The emergency strategy. Number 1, don't panic. Smile. Smiling actually relaxes your body and sends a signal to your brain that you are safe. Number 2, paraphrase. If you cannot find the specific word, describe it. If you forget the word for umbrella, say, "the thing you use for rain." It keeps the conversation moving.
Yes, describing is a lifesaver. It's like playing a game. You don't need the exact word, you just need to get the idea across. And usually the other person will say the word for you. They will say, "Oh, you mean an umbrella?" And you say, "Yes, exactly." And now you have heard the word and used it. It's a team effort.
And number 3, ask a question. If you are stuck and don't know what to say, ask the other person a question about themselves. People love talking about themselves. It takes the spotlight off you and gives you a moment to breathe and listen again. It's a great social tactic.
Brilliant. Flip the script. Make them talk. You know, listening to us talk about this, I hope our listeners realize that speaking is a skill that can be built. It is not a talent you're born with. Some people are more talkative, sure, but the ability to speak a second language is a mechanical and psychological skill. It takes reps.
Reps, repetitions, like in the gym. You cannot lift the heavy weight on day 1. You have to lift the light weight 1,000 times. Every time you speak a sentence out loud, even to yourself in the shower, that is a rep. You are building the muscle.
I want to ask our listeners to do something today. Not tomorrow, today. As soon as this podcast finishes, I want you to record yourself on your phone, just for 1 minute. Talk about what you learned in this episode. You don't have to show it to anyone. You can delete it immediately if you want. But do the act of speaking your thoughts into existence.
That is a great challenge. And listen to it. It might be painful at first, you might cringe, but listen to it and find one thing you did well. Maybe your intonation was good on one sentence. Maybe you remembered a cool vocabulary word. Focus on the win.
Focus on the win. We focus so much on the errors. We need to celebrate the wins. If you understood this entire podcast, that is a massive win. It means your brain has processed thousands of words, complex grammar structures, and abstract ideas effortlessly. You're already halfway there.
You really are. You are closer than you think. The gap between understanding and speaking feels like a canyon, but it's actually just a step. A scary step, but just a step. You have all the tools. You have the vocabulary in there. You just need to unlock the door.
And we are here to help you find the key. This journey of English is not a sprint. It is a marathon. And there will be days where you feel like you're going backward. Days where you can't remember simple words. That's okay. It's part of the process. Be kind to yourself.
Being kind to yourself is probably the most important English lesson we can teach. Stress blocks memory. Relaxation opens it. If you beat yourself up, you're actually making it harder to learn. So take a deep breath, realize that understanding is a huge gift, and speaking will come if you just keep showing up.
Keep showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. You know, Tom, I think about the future of our listeners. Imagine them a year from now. If they start practicing small bits of speaking today, where could they be in a year?
The transformation would be incredible. In a year, they wouldn't just be speaking English, they'd be different people. More confident, more open. They'd have stories they shared, connections they made. The language is just the vehicle. The destination is a bigger life.
A bigger life. That is beautiful. That is what we want for you. We don't just want you to know grammar. We want you to have a bigger life. We want you to be able to express your soul, your humor, your intelligence to the whole world. The world is waiting to hear you.
The world is waiting to hear you. You have a voice. Use it. Don't let it rust in silence. Even if it cracks, even if it shakes, use it.
I feel so inspired right now, Tom. I hope our listeners do too. Before we wrap up, let's summarize the main points. 1. It is normal. The gap is natural. 2. Practice in low-stakes environments. Talk to yourself. 3. Stop translating and start thinking in chunks. And 4. Embrace the mistakes.
And 5, just start. Don't wait for perfection. Start with the mess. We believe in you. We know you can do this because we have seen thousands of people do it. You are not the exception. You can break through the silence.
Thank you so much for listening to Real English Voices today. We appreciate you letting us into your ears and into your journey.
If you enjoyed this conversation, try to tell someone about it in English, even if it is just your cat. Practice summarizing what you heard. It is a great first step.
We will be back soon with more conversations, more tips, and more motivation. Until then, keep listening, but more importantly, start speaking.
Goodbye, everyone. Take care.
Bye. See you next time.